Hey, welcome to the broadcast. Let's see if we're actually live now. So let me go over and click a link. Yep, we're live. What's this? So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with this. Don't know why. Last couple times, I think last time they had a problem with the broadcast not actually going live when they went live. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully, I can notify the other folks that are watching the other program join this one. Let's go say hi to all the people that are on the chat. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm currently scrambling to get everyone else on the broadcast too, so bear with me while I get this settled in. Strange, we haven't had problems like this in the past, so this is something new. But anyways, what I'm working on right now is, I guess you could say, my annual one-year war Xeon pissing on some kind of Federation suit diorama. So since this is, some they have some cool Gundam Origin kits. I'm gonna use that to do something. Now, let me see if I can position the camera a little bit better. What I'm doing here is I have my massive Zaku with his massive axe, chopping off a chunk of the gun tank. So if I could shift this up a little bit, hopefully without sort of showing that. So you see that what I've done is I've chopped the arm off and I've kind of stuck a light here. This would be better if I just do that. And we're having other people join. Happy times.
We're back!
Hey, what's up?
We're actually live this time, so SUV is popping on.
Well, me and George were having a great conversation in the other one that didn't work.
I know, boy. Let me tell you, this has just been an amazing night in terms of just like these freak occurrences of like magic or something. I don't know, but it's hard to go into it, so you just had to be there, whatever.
Only the first 15 minutes, so okay. We start over, George. You have a Gelgoot 2.0 we're working on.
Yeah, I got this boring old Gelgoog. It's dumb and stupid. Nah, I kind of been eyeing this kit for a while. Went to the local comic store, which fun place. A whole lot of Gundam kits. And I just like going there sometimes and occasionally buying something. And I'd been wanting the Gelgoog version 2 for a while, and so I finally got it. And right now I'm trying to get it ready for paint. Kind of modularizing stuff, which may be wasted effort. I don't know. But like I did this thing. I can't do it with this leg. Yeah, I can. I did this thing, so like the that part can slide on, but it was a dumb idea. Like there was no need for it. I could have just painted the damn inner frame, then glued this thing on around it, and then painted the armor. So whatever. Wasted effort, but I really haven't done that many master grades, so whatever. I do things wrong sometimes. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get started painting on it pretty soon. Just kind of as soon as I get some things sorted out and glued together and sanded down and all that lovely crap.
Now let's go back to Mike Wine.
Okay. All right, let's go back and try to figure out what I said. I'm working on. I know, right? I'm working on the base that basically making a launch bay for this guy right here. Okay. 148 Super Strike Valkyrie. Been on it since, gosh, for about 6 months now, I think. Got all the principal wiring done and paint on this thing. Let's see what I've been doing since that's been sitting there. Scratch building this launch arm and the claw, and later on I'm going to put it all together. Right now it's in pieces on the table here. I'm going to try to piece it together a little bit so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. But this thing attaches. There's a 10 millimeter magnet, really strong magnet in here. I got some pins that hold it in. They look actually like the launch pins that are on the claws, and this was all built from using reference photographs and stuff like that. I printed it out and printed out a picture, as you say, to scale, and then I just started building it from that. So my wires are going to run down the bottom here and into the base, and then this will be set at a 45-degree angle in the base. And like I said, later I will bring it up here on the table and kind of assemble it. Right now I'm just cutting some of the pieces out so I can kind of show you what I'm doing. It'll be a little bit easier to explain once it's all built. And that's that. So yeah, we're right back to where we were, I think. Let's not forget to throw this up there so everybody can see that. There we go. Those Gundam flags. Oh. How about right there? Nope. There. Right in the middle. What are you doing, Clem?
So I kind of started without you guys, but what?
Talking in the other room.
Huh?
I says because we were talking in the other room, we didn't realize that.
Well, we're beyond that now.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate though. I mean, after all those amazing coincidences and just like brilliant pieces of work that can only be captured on camera once.
Sure,
It's a shame.
Sure. So what I am working on right now is, as I ignore George, as we tend to just George gets used to us ignoring him anyways. This is my annual pick on a fetty diorama type thing. So what we have is a 1 year war, or not 1 year war. No, it's 1 year war, but like Gundam Origins. And I got this early type gun tank here, as well as the exactly with the giant axe. And what I'm doing is I cut apart his arm, or the gun tank's one of his arms, because I want to, slice through it, so to speak. So as his axe is coming down, cutting through his arm piece, I added a little light piece plus some acrylics, so that once light goes out,
It'll look like it's burned.
yeah. So it looks like it's freshly cut molten lava, glowing type deal. So I'm just cut this apart, paint the inside, and put some plastic here and paint this up, and hopefully it'll get that glowing, freshly chopped off piece of metal anime look to
Did
it.
you paint pink inside?
Yes.
Because everything's better when it's pink. I'm just saying.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that to I'm going to do the same to this side here, and this is going to be sitting kind of on the ground. I'll have my connector somewhere in here, so this too will also be glowing eventually. Now, originally I had a smaller box that I was going to use as a display base, but I figured if I want like a roadway here, maybe some buildings that this guy crashed into, I need kind of a little bigger of a footprint to work with. At least it'll look a little bit more realistic as opposed to everything all cramped up together like this. And I want them kissing. They're supposed to be fighting. So there's that. I really don't like the tracks on this thing. They suck. It's one piece. So what I want to do is I want to kind of show this thing damaged a little bit, especially the tracks. So that's going to be an interesting challenge I have. But I have ideas of what I'm going to do with the tracks. So it's all plastic anyway, so nothing but a knife and some glue could fix everything, right?
Here you go.
So
Ever thought, is it even possible to build new tracks or maybe print some new ones out?
no, I'm just going to cut these up and use them as is. I mean,
Nice.
I could cut up a section and cast it, and then but then I've run through a bunch of possibilities of of redoing these tracks, from buying a track kit to cutting these all up to making a resin cast and linking them together. It's not really worth the effort. So, well, for what I want to do, I don't want to go overly nuts with this, but I'm still kind of planning this out. So who knows what I end up doing?
Right, that's how most dioramas are anyway. Or they evolve, You have a principal idea and then it evolves as you go along.
Well, yeah, because you end up breaking stuff that you didn't want to break, and all that happy horse crap happens. So right now, kind of taking this thing apart. I guess I should just cut apart these internals, because I really don't. You're about to say something, George?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say if you did want to free up those tracks, it probably wouldn't be hard to cut the links apart and then link them together with armature wire or something.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought about doing. But I still need to cut them all apart.
That's cool.
That's the part that you don't want to do necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like there's like a straight line between each segment. It's not like cut in, cut out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Notched. Looks like it's just straight.
Yeah, there's straight edges for me to cut through here, but these tracks are also it's a two-piece track. I pull this guy apart. For some of you guys that have never worked with this before, this comes in two pieces.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out the logic to that, but I mean It does make it easier for me to cut this apart.
Hmm.
If I could actually get this stupid thing apart.
Well, you could give it 4 tracks.
Yes. And go beyond my idea of just simply building this. So it's got 2 tracks. I'm trying to figure out. I did some research online to see if, short of just popping on the anime, to see how these tracks actually worked on the anime. But do they work in unison, or is it supposed to be, 1 track, or is it supposed to be 2 tracks that could possibly turn out, I don't understand why they would have 2 tracks together on the same side running opposite directions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those didn't make sense to me. I'm not a tank guy, but this does not make sense to me at all.
Well, I think they just molded it as 2 separate parts so they could get those holes in the surface. I think that's really all there is to it.
I guess.
And then the typical hide a seam line in plain sight approach.
No, but then if you look at this, there's details on the insides of these tracks. There's marks of detail right here. Aside from, there's these actual detail marks between the teeth. So, from my understanding, it looks like they're it's made to be 2 separate track pieces that are slammed together.
I don't know. I'd have to take a look at it.
Yeah, it just baffled me. So there's going to be some surgery to this eventually. But enough about this. Let's go see what you guys are. Let's go back to what you guys are working on. This will be a fairly quiet build as we're sanding and cutting things apart.
Well, I'm not cutting anything apart, but I am sanding. Just inside of the leg. Not much of it is going to be visible, so again, a lot of it's sort of wasted effort, but little bits are going to be visible, like around the thrusters and maybe some at the D-joint and things like that. So just all kinds of little tasks to be done before this thing can be painted.
Most of those back, especially the 2.0, come, pretty easily to assemble and paint. So I don't understand why you need to do all this, secondary work to get ready for painting. Because, most master grades are, especially the 2.0s, shake them and they're ready to paint.
Well, there's gate marks where I cut parts off. I haven't sanded all that stuff down yet.
Yeah.
There's seam lines where things got joined together. That has to be sanded down. Are you talking about like the modularization work that I did on the leg? Because that was mostly wasted.
That's what I'm getting at, the modularization you're doing.
Yeah, that was mostly a waste of time. I think that this bit was like maybe the one useful bit, and even that was like more trouble than it was worth probably. Just so I can paint this separately from all this. I got it so I can stick it in and then pop it back out if I need to. Yeah. You always got to go there.
Yeah, you said it.
I sure did. By the way, Clem, I wanted to ask you about vapor smoothing.
Sure.
Yeah, basically, I got myself a crock pot, and I've been trying some vapor smoothing with it, and haven't had universal success with it at this point. I think I've had a little bit of success with it, and I had a couple that just kind of did nothing. I don't know if I didn't add enough acetone, if I had it too hot, or what. I don't know.
So how long have you been letting it sit in the pot for?
I don't remember. I probably picked this thing up like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and haven't had much time to mess with it since kind of that one session when I got it.
I've left my parts in for 15-minute intervals. popping it open to take a look at it and leaving it in there for another 15, Sometimes, depending on how big the part is, it'll take a while. So depends on how thick your resolution lines are when you printed this. How fine your resolution lines were.
Yeah.
So leave it in there for a while and see if it melts into a pile of plastic.
I'd rather it didn't go that far. I've already one of the smaller parts that I printed, it was a reasonably quick print, but that one did get messed up in part because it was too thin, really, but too thin for vapor smoothing anyway.
So Dan just joined us, so we're now a foursome. Hi, Dan.
All right, hey, how's it going? What's up, guys?
Oh, we're just building away.
You missed the most amazing thing that happened earlier.
Been really fortunate we haven't had any technical difficulties thus far.
Yeah, I noticed we're on our third link.
What do you mean?
It took me like 2 or 3 tries to get in, too, but it seems fine now.
I blame YouTube.
You're on YouTube?
I blame YouTube.
Oh.
That's funny because first he was blaming Angel.
Well, I blame him automatically, anyways.
Oh, okay.
It's always the Mexican's fault.
Ow. He went there.
Donald Chung.
But Dan, your broadcast, you're on. It's on you. So.
Oh, all right. Well, so this is that F-105 I was working on last time we were on. I've made some progress. You see the tape on it I'm taking off. It's like in it's in model traction. So what happened is I made one mistake, which I compounded by building on top of that mistake and screwing it up. So what I
Fall
did
off
is
the launch arm?
what?
Did it fall off the launch arm?
No, it didn't fall off the launch arm. I can put it back on there if you want.
Wrong
Anyway.
kid.
Or is that a reference to something Mike did?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, did you drop your model off the launch arm?
No, thankfully not yet. I want to say yet, but yet usually means, yet usually means you're eligible too, and I don't want to go there. I'm just kind of trying to piece together this base so I can show you. Go ahead, keep talking.
That's all right. So what I did is, when I glued the fuselage together, I used all my clamps to clamp it together like so. Kind of working in sections from the front, putting the glue in, tightening it up, putting the glue on, tightening it up. And as I got to the back, I decided to leave the vertical fin and rudder unglued. I was mainly concerned about getting the main bulk of the fuselage all glued together. So the next day, when all the glue had fully dried, I came back, slathered the glue in there, and put some clamps on and glued the rudder together. What I didn't do or really think about was make sure the rudder was straight, because you just think it's 2 halves, it's connected to the fuselage, how could you go wrong? But it did go wrong, and what happened is, when I glued it and clamped it, I wasn't really paying attention. I'd managed to glue it with like a kink in it, so that the rudder was kind of off. Now what made that a much bigger problem is a few days later I go to glue the wings on, and when you're building a model kit of an airplane, especially alignment is super important. So you're going to look at the thing like head on and try and tell yourself, okay, are the wings level with each other and 90 degrees to the rudder, or if they're not supposed to be 90 degrees, at least evenly tilted or tilted downwards. So I'm eyeballing it as I'm gluing, and I'm holding the glue and I'm going, dang it, this wing sits high. So this wing seemed like it was high, and the main point of reference, naturally, is this big old rudder sticking up, so I'm using that as straight up. Well, unfortunately, my rudder was cocked off to the side, which I didn't realize till later. So I intentionally actually glued the wing with a bit of a gap, letting it to lower it, so that way the 2 wings would be level in relation to the rudder. Well, today I found a different reference with like some 90 degrees, like at a cross, that I could hold the thing across and look at it, from across the room and line it all up, and I go, shoot, the rudder's crooked. And since the rudder's crooked, I made the wings crooked in comparison to it. So first I took a blow dryer, like people do with resin kits. Since this plastic is pretty soft, which has probably led to what the rudder being crooked to start with, and I blow dried it and bent it and then stick it in some icy water and blow dried it, bent it, and stick it in icy water, and at the end I went ahead and just taped it. And it's pretty good. It's a lot better than it was. You'd have to really look to tell that the top's still a little bit off center. And then the other thing I did is run a bunch of glue. I mean, this glue is fully cured, but I ran a whole bunch of glue on there. And once it was soft, I started working and smushing and trying to get it to loosen up. And I even went so far as to take the X-Acto knife and score it to kind of open it up and slam some more glue in there. I'm basically kind of like trying to unglue the glue joint and re-glue it and hold it on really tight, which is why I had the tape on there. So now, it's looking pretty good. I think I got it good enough, as good as I can, basically, considering that I already messed up and glued everything on crooked to start with. I think it's a pretty decent save. So, if you build airplanes and you're going to enter them in a contest, just about the first thing the judge does is get down on the nose level and look, is everything straight? And if it's not, forget it, you're out. So it's kind of important to try and get that stuff straight, at least crooked in relation to each other. So.
I'm sort of built a plane.
Yeah, Mike sort of built a plane.
Although I don't know if Dan has seen it completely assembled.
Maybe not. I don't know. I've seen a bunch of pictures, but
Mike's presenting, so.
Yeah, I'm just kind of showing you. There's your head on. Take a look at my wings. Are they straight?
all I see is
I'm kidding. I run an external battery here just because I'm going to have to rewire it. But I was showing the lights earlier on a broadcast that didn't work, so no one really got to see that. Maybe I'll do it later. Right now, I'm just kind of.
Do it now! Do it now!
Do it now. All right, we'll do it now.
well, right now, all I see is your face. Like your little icon? I don't have a video on you. Is it just me?
Really? I'm on. I don't know.
Works on my machine.
I think, yeah,
In my picture just fine. Let me turn this.
you might be coming in and out.
My computer doesn't like you.
Oh, well.
Well, whose computer does?
Get in line, dude. Get in line. All right. I'm going to plug this in. And hopefully not short everything out. Process.
Somebody send me an email when the lights go on so I can go, ooh.
All right, well, the lights are on.
Ooh. That's really nice, Mike.
Yeah.
I put a goat
I
on it.
got the battery off and all my lights went out. Well, that didn't work very long. I tilted it and my battery slid off and yanked the cables off. So let me reattach here real quick. So yeah, originally my plan was to.
Mike is still there? Or did we lose his ass?
Why did Dan mute Mike?
Well, how do I unmute him? That's the question.
How did you mute him?
I clicked on the thing.
All right, now
There
you can hear me.
Yes.
God.
I was just hoping by toggling it off and on it might reset it and bring the video back up, but.
Well.
And I thought that was only going to mute it for me, not for everybody. I didn't
Over there pushing random buttons and.
Hey.
So anyway.
I'm a computer system administrator. I'll have you know.
My original plan was to power this thing, have a battery
Sketch doesn't
inside the left-hand booster, but my problem is that I could not find a 9-volt battery small enough to fit in there. So
Yeah, and you just cut up the 9-volt.
yeah, cut it up. So what I did is I stacked three 3-volt batteries and tried it that way. everything lit up just fine. It was very, very dim because the little tiny batteries just don't have as much amperage. For those non-techie, that means current. They wouldn't push enough juice through them enough. So here we go. Dan, can you see my picture now?
No, it's your face.
No, still just, well.
Yeah. I'm going to drop out of the call and try and get back in and see if that helps.
I'll try it real quick. I'll keep flashing lights here. So anyway, we got 18 LEDs total. There's 2 in the nose, 1 in the gun pod, 3 in each wing. There's 2 actually in the turret sensor, you see there. And then there are 2 on top of the rears of there's 1 underneath here you can't see, but it's there anyway because I needed it to have my totals add up correctly anyway. And then there's 1 in the front booster on the left-hand side. And then there's also 4 in the rear. You got all the boosters lit up.
1 in the rear is enough for me.
No.
You sure?
Is that in now?
I can see now.
You can see it now?
Yeah. Big.
Okay.
Nice.
So the wing tips are all colored appropriately. You got the red on the left-hand side, blue on the right. There's the rear, in case you missed it the first time.
Cool.
I'm trying not to let everything slide off here, so. Anyway, what I'm doing...
Make for very good video.
Huh?
That would make for very good video.
Maybe for you guys. Okay, so anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm piecing together this launch arm here. Here's the launch arm. It's pretty much done. I got some cosmetic work to do on it. I want to dress it up, make it look a little more technical, because right now it's just pretty much square. There's not a lot going on, but I wanted to get all the wiring done, so I'm going to be running wires down the length of this through into the base here, and I can power it with my 9-volt battery down here. And the nice thing about that is, if you look at the picture that I used as reference, okay, there's actually power cables of some kind running down the length of the arm by design anyway, so I don't have to worry about trying to hide those wires. They'll actually just be my power supply. Well, in a few minutes here, I'll have this kind of pieced together, and I can kind of show you what it's going to look like, sort of. I've basically got a 13-inch by 7¼ inch door. It's not going to be open. I'm not going to show anything inside the hangar bay. It's just going to be flowing.
Why not?
How much time do you want me to spend? Eventually, I do want to finish this project.
Just build the rest of the ship while you're at it.
Yeah, you know what? I'll do a 148 SDF-1. I don't know how big that's going to be. But I'll get right on it. Just because fun said so. Anyway, so...
I build a lot of railroad parts.
Yeah. A lot of train store stuff. All photo etch. Boy, that would take a long time. That's what I'm doing. I know it doesn't look like much because you're looking straight at this thing, but once I put the arm in place, you'll kind of get a better idea of what's going on. But this is where we're at. Does that make sense, peoples?
George is still standing?
Yeah, still standing.
That's exciting.
Intense sanding action.
Yeah.
The only thing more thrilling is watching paint dry.
Is watching George sing.
I enjoy watching George sand. This is why, for the rest of the broadcast, this is just what we're going to do. We're going to watch George sand.
Who's George Sand?
I don't know.
Wah.
Good call.
He's on third.
George Sand.
You know.
Wasn't he in G Gundam? He was the French guy or something.
It was funny until you brought that up.
All right. So outline. This is.
All right. So go back to what I'm working on.
I'm going to turn my light back on here so I can see what I'm doing.
Hooray!
couldn't figure out why it was so dark in here. Oh yeah, maybe I should turn the lights
So what I'm doing now is I built this little, or I cut up a little piece of plastic here that I'm using as a template to stick a couple of LEDs here. And I'm going to wire the LEDs up so that I'm going to stick the LEDs. This template will fit right inside this arm piece here, and continue to build my little light array here. So what I have here are just red and white wire, or red and black bars, colorblind. And I'm stripping.
Please no.
Yes. Well, we have ladies that watch this. And
If you're gonna strip, we're gonna wish we were all blind, not just colorblind.
And the sure way to get rid of the ladies is to do just that. So,
If someone knows how to get rid of ladies, it's Clem. Okay.
check my polarity. Let's see here. Red goes on the longer wire. And what I'm using here is just a wire wrapping tool to do this.
Where'd you get it?
I bought this at Radio Shack, of all places.
Oh.
And someone asked me about, a wire wrapping tool because he was working on wiring up a master grade unicorn, and he couldn't find a Radio Shack. Well, I mean, most of them are closed now, but he couldn't he couldn't find this particular wrapping tool online either. And when I did a search for it, I found that some places had listed it as discontinued, so that kind of sucks. But it's the primary way I use to connect my wires is just with a wire wrapping tool. So now that I have that on that side, I'm just going to connect this up here, trim this up as well. And since I'm going to have this wrapped up or connected via parallel, I'm just going to wire these up in parallel. Which means my positives goes to my positives, my negatives goes to my negatives. Now if I was wrapping this up in serial, that would be my positive from one end goes to the negative of the other end. And it basically it's one long connection. Positive, negative, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, so on and so forth. But since I'm doing this with in parallel, I'm doing all the positives to positive and all the negatives to negative.
That way you can also keep your voltages down. You don't have to run everything on.
There's pros and
3 volts.
To doing either or. So.
Well, what I was saying, what I meant was because I actually have I have 18 LEDs in the Valkyrie. There are 6 series of 3, and then they're all parallel together at the end. So that's why I'm running on 9 volts, because I mean there's a resistor in there for some of the red LEDs that I have, but most of them are white, and they run on 3 volts. So I had to run. Or to run on 9 volts, I had to run them in series, and everything has to add up to basically 9 volts. You do that without having to use the resistors. So
that's as high as
once I got all my series of 3 together, then I just paralleled them all at the end, and so now I'm down to 2 wires. What you say,
He said that's as high as you could count.
Right over there.
So messed up.
Right.
Just because Mike's a mechanic.
Hey, I didn't say anything about
Mike
that.
and mechanics.
Yeah, you guys all have cars, and you all need them fixed. Don't
Don't be a dick.
Fish.
See, I just change cards every time my card breaks down.
Oh, must be nice.
Every time some kid goes
drive it
Grand
till-
Theft Auto style.
Say that
You
again?
just drive it till it gets dirty and go get another one? Is that what you do?
Yes. Yes, that's
Just
exactly
Grand Theft Auto style. Carjack somebody at random and just drive off with their car.
No, I was
Uh,
watching. I was watching someone that posted up a video with about Grand Theft Auto, and they built a ramp out of things.
Yes, that was awesome. The truck ramp?
Yeah, and just the game mechanics just allowed for it. It's awesome.
That's freaking best.
Kind of like the original Halo game was like that too. Everybody was testing the physics engine. They would do this crazy, stupid stuff with the Warthog and jumping at miles into the air. Just because they'd set up 30 grenades underneath the thing and watch it fly into the stratosphere.
So now that I have this wired up in parallel, I just have two wires coming out, and these both light up at the same time using the same power source. Now I stick this. I'm gonna clip off some of the excess here so it fits in there decently. I hope it would fit in there decently. One of these will just kind of come out through here.
By the way, Mike, when I said you can only count to 9, it had nothing to do with you being a mechanic. I was thinking more like Renaissance. I figured those guys fucking a lot.
Well, that's much better, Dan. Don't feel bad at all now. Huh?
Okay. Now we sorted that out.
Douchebag.
I fail to see the humor.
Hey, don't call him a douchebag. We've already talked about how we can count.
So now that I have these wires in here, all I need is a piece of acrylic that I had cut up earlier. I can't find now because it's clear. Mike, do you see where I put that piece of acrylic earlier?
Is
Oh,
he
the
there
one
with
you
you?
were trying?
Yeah.
No, actually. That is kind of funny.
Well, I have my big clear piece here. I don't want to cut off another, chunk if I don't have to. Damn it. See, that's a problem with working with clear plastic. It's clear.
Say it like I tell my kids. Open your eyes and look for it.
That's not very nice. So, while I'm looking for my piece of clear acrylic, let's talk about your plane, Dan.
Okay. So, okay, now I don't have to do it for myself. Did you guys see me?
No.
Oh,
Fantastic. I don't know. Drop out and drop back in.
Oh,
Try it.
now I'm looking at a black screen.
okay, now let's go back to George.
Hey, I'm sanding.
Wait, I thought you were George Sands, not George Sanding.
Yep. Still sanding.
At this time, I'm just going to ask anyone on the chat. We have a couple of people that are on chat. If they have any interest, any questions, about building, about anything in general.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, Dan has a black screen again.
Again? Ah, I was on for a second.
Yeah,
Come on.
Dan has problems.
It's having issues.
George is waxing on and waxing off, apparently.
That's what they tell me.
It's a good thing you said waxing off. very well be interpreted as something else.
No, I interpreted it as the the Karate Kid movie thing reference. I don't know about you, Mike.
Oh, the one with Jackie Chan.
You want
Yes.
to? Yeah.
And the Smiths, kid.
Yeah, that guy.
I never actually watched that version of.
It's actually pretty good.
Really? Hey, I found my piece. Cool.
Even though he teaches him kung fu when technically it's supposed to be karate.
Karate. Well,
They like
Chinese guy
lampshade
versus
that, don't they?
Japanese guy. That's fair, right?
Say again?
Chinese guy versus a Japanese guy. Teacher. It seems a little just fair, right?
Well, they are in China after all.
It's the Karate Kid, not the. They should have called it the Kung Fu Kid.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Oh, I was probably off there trying to fix my camera.
No, I know. No, it's because it was the reboot was basically.
Okay, so now that I've found my...
reboot, it's like the third reboot of that something.
The other
You can't the girl, yeah. Hillary Swank.
That was a sequel. This was an actual reboot of this. I mean, it was basically the first story all over again.
But in China.
Yeah. with kung fu.
Yeah, with Kung Fu.
Kung fu.
And Jackie Chan. And a black kid. But other than that, totally the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so. I didn't watch it.
Well,
After thinking about the two different Karate Kid movies, I'm actually starting to buy the whole thing about this new Star Wars movie being just a total remake of the original one.
For the new generation. Which is
I never thought of it that way, but when I think about how different the Karate Kid movies are, it's like, maybe those Star Wars
it's-
are on something.
it's a lot like Episode 4 for sure.
So I found my piece of acrylic, and what I'm doing is I'm just kind of tack welding this to here with some glue so that it stays in place while I work on it a little bit. Now I'm just gonna clip off some of the excess, round it off a little bit.
Axis.
All right. We've got a hanging doctor.
So what this acrylic sheet will act as an extension of the part, so to speak. Now I'm going to kind of sand this down a little bit so that I can get a little peg. Get a rougher sanding bit.
Ooh-wee. All right.
What are you babbling about now, Mike?
No, I just hung the Valkyrie up here so we can.
Okay. As we sanding, let's come over to you and you can hang the Valkyrie. Mike, is this... Okay, there we go.
Let me bring it forward a bit.
Be awesome if we had an earthquake.
It's on there. It's not going anywhere.
Say, it's gonna have
So
to start
anyway,
running.
you can kind of see this down here. You see how these are cut out? Okay. The two on the edges are not, because basically the door is going to start an inch in. This will be an open, basically the whole bay door. So this launch arm comes out through here. And, yeah. So it's kind of hard to see because I got the camera so close now. This thing's about a foot off the table. But I've tested the weight several times. It'll hold. It's just the pins. These are the pins that would normally release the Valkyrie if it was going to launch. These are what actually holds it from swiveling. Most of the weight is being held by the 10 millimeter magnet in where the suction cup would be right down the middle. Kind of see it there. So that's where it's going to go from here. This is where it starts to come together. There's a little bit of an overhang here, but I knew that going in. I didn't want to have this, 24-inch base sticking out here just so it would be where the edge of the wing is. It lands right about, or 15 inches, right about underneath this missile pod. So I think it's going to look pretty cool when I'm done.
Yeah, well.
This thing, the weight of this thing is pretty tremendous. I had to actually bend this. This is a stainless steel rod at this end, and I bent it at a 45 and measured it so it was actually at 45 degrees, but I had to actually flatten it out some because the weight alone pulls everything down out of, if I had it at 45, it'd be out of position, so I had to actually essentially raise it so the weight would pull it back down to where it should be. So this is all full. I'm going to actually cover all this in plastic and make it look like the ship. So anyway, what do you think, Dan?
Awesome.
See if I can turn it. I'll turn it so it's a little bit easier to see the Valkyrie. There you go. Weapons are hung. I mean, this kit's a heavy kit, and I kind of pushed my limits here doing this because I've seen these launch arms before with like a 172 size, not a 148. Now let me come away here. There we go. So it's just so much heavier, and I had actually started with these. Originally, I had these little tiny magnets here. See the ones on the end? They're a lot smaller. I ended up using these. These are the 10s. They're just stuck together, but because the little tiny 6mm ones wouldn't hold it. They were too lightweight. So as we spin around here, let's see the back. So I'm happy with it so far. It's been a fun, challenging kit. I've never built a Hasegawa kit before, and now I know why. I mean, you get kind of spoiled with Bandai, especially Clem stuff, because they just fall together. Like Clem used a reference earlier about some of the master grades being so easy to paint. You just shake the box and they're ready to paint, and it's so true. But this thing, I mean, it's just, I'd forgotten how much harder it was to build one of these, especially an airplane-style kit with all the seams and everything else. Plus, I added so much wiring and other stuff to it that wasn't in the design, so I had to basically wing it as I, just
wing it.
As I go. Huh?
Wing it.
Yeah, wing it, right? That's kind of fun.
Right. We had a couple of questions on the chat since I asked for questions, and we were all standing and touching ourselves while touching Mike's kit. First question was someone asked if there was any interest in resin kits.
No, nobody's interested in resin kits.
Well, more so unique mecha scale model kits. There's a guy in Italy that has done a lot of kind of Gundam's, I guess Gundam themed or inspired, not themed, inspired mecha kits. So there is, it's probably going to be a smaller community for that. A lot of us here have built resin kits. We like resin, we'll pick up a resin kit from a decent sculptor. So it has to be something that's, fairly mass appeal, unless you're building or you're sculpting and building something for, a limited release. But yeah, there is definitely interest in resin kits. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. He does into 3D modeling and 3D printing, which we as a group have a 3D printer, but we haven't done much in terms of getting like full kits printed out. George has been working on like a 3D printed 160 scale Zaku that
I have. I'm actually working on a few different 3D printable models, but the Zaku is just kind of the furthest along, and it's the one I'm kind of doing the most practical experiments on. So.
But this is still
3D printed Zaku leg again. I show it like every 2 weeks, but here it is in case anybody on the channel hasn't seen it.
Have you seen my Zaku leg? Well, here it is. Have a good look at it.
I know, right?
well,
Well, I'd love to have something new to show on this thing this time, but I just haven't I haven't had time at the labs to print anything new. But since we brought it up, here it is.
The Gelgu is new, so I build a lot of resin figure kits. I've done a few resin mecha kits. I haven't done really much in terms of like an original mecha kit. I've owned a few, so there's this guy's he's printed out character kits, usually like 5 parts. His end goal is to do a full character kit, painted or finished, or as a kit, or as well as mecha kits. So yeah, there's definitely some interest. Depends on the design. The next question I want to get to is someone asked about finishers paints. Now this is stuff I use, so I'm gonna bring this. Go get my paint first. Now, Finishers is a Japanese brand of, lacquer-based paint. So let me bring this. Let me broadcast. Present myself. So here I have a box of Finishers paints. They come in bottles about this size, and they're lacquer-based. One of these bottles can be thinned about 70% thinner to 30-35% paint. This will last a very, very long time. And it's just like, it's very, very similar to Mr. Color. I have been told by friends that have used the Finishers paints that this is a lot hotter than Mr. Color. I haven't really noticed that because I prime everything. But this stuff goes on really nicely. I like this. It's about the same as Mr. Color, but I do like the Finishers paint a lot. So hopefully that answers that question about Finishers paints. Let's see here. So hopefully, well, that took care of most of the questions. Anyone else have anything to add about resin figure kits or resin mecha kits that you guys want to talk about?
I don't know if we talked about the.
Let me answer a question. He asked what specific thinner to use for finishers. I've been using this stuff. Just your standard Mr. Color thinner works just fine with the finishers paints. They have their own brand of thinner, but it's the same stuff. So I have not had a problem. I've been painting with finishers for a good 8 years or so now. Dan, you had something I kind of interrupted you?
Yeah, sorry. So I have not really done resin. I've used like some resin detail parts on my scale models, but if you're new to resin figures, this is something I picked up last year at Anime Expo, and I don't know if you've talked about it, Clem, because I know you built one of these too. This is from Volks, and so if you want to try something new and you want to try resin, this is going to be like getting less out of your comfort zone because it's like a high-grade resin kit.
Well, I think the guy's question was more along of he designs a resin kit. Would we be interested in something that he designed?
Okay.
Just completely blow the lid.
Send us samples, huh?
But you were talking about like our general interest in what we like to build and how we do resin.
Yeah, this is true. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah, most of our resin kits that we
totally forget that.
are figure kits. So, we're going in this blind that we haven't seen this guy's works and whatnot. So it's just like, at least that's my understanding from the question. He could correct me if he's still on the chat, so he could correct me if I'm completely wrong on this.
No, I'm just running with you and on the topic of resin stuff, and I'm just running with that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's handy. So with that very smooth segue, for people like me who are kind of interested in resin but haven't taken the plunge yet, these kits are interesting because what they do is it's like a high-grade kit, if you're used to Gundam, where, and I've cleaned this up quite a bit, but these kits are in resin but molded in multiple colors. And the parts breakdown is very good so that, for instance, I'm going to grab an arm. So here's two parts of an arm. One's molded in pink, one's molded in white, and they actually fit together so that you're not going to have to mask that. You can paint those pink and white parts separately. Yeah, the color's washing out, of course, so you can't actually see that. Here's two. Let's do the butt. You can see that better.
Yeah, the Volks kits are really nice.
There's her butt connected to her torso. There's one leg, the other leg, and her torso, and they just fit there. They're broken along color separation lines. So this, normally a resin figure like this would maybe be like a dozen pieces, including like 6 pieces for her hair. So her actual body would only be 5 or 6 pieces. This thing's like, I don't know, 40. Some of the more intricate ones, like if you've ever played Valkyria Chronicles, they've got some figures from that line. They're like 100 pieces because of the intricacy of their uniforms. So it's pretty impressive kits. If you're looking to try resin, something I would suggest. The only reason I haven't finished this is, at least at the time I'm working on it, I didn't really have an airbrush. So I kind of got to the cleanup stage, and then when I was ready to prime it, it just kind of started to sit there. Now I have an airbrush. I should pick it back up and finish it, but that's where I am.
You're working on a plane.
I know, but even when I started working on this plane, I still didn't have my airbrush set up. So I only got my airbrush set up just like a month ago. So I finally got tired of it. Like, screw it. Hey, if I'm still on, as long as I'm on. Another trick I'll share if you're going to build a Macross kit or an airplane kit, or it might even come in handy on a Gundam, is I'm putting where the fuselage and the wing meet because there's a little gap there. I've placed masking tape along the edge of that join. The idea is that I can work the putty in and not get putty all over the wing and fuselage because they've got these finely scribed details and rivets and whatnot.
Dan?
What?
Oh, I thought we lost you for a second.
Oh, you're there.
No, I'm there.
Never
So
mind.
anyway, I essentially mask off near the join. I can get putty in the join, and then also I'll leave it on while I'm sanding. That way, as I'm sanding, I'm not scratching up the surface of the model. And that way, I try and keep all my repair work to a very thin little strip, both to not damage the model, and also there'll be less rescribing I have to do later because I filled a bunch of stuff in with putty. So there's a little trick you can use. Not a lot of glue, not a lot of joints in Gundam kits, but there are some, and sometimes they're run near detail. So that's one way to save it. I have used that trick on Gundam kits.
Cool. So, yeah, the guy talking about he's sculpting figures in ZBrush, which is a very cool program. I went to a 3D printing seminar one time, and they had a couple of demos on ZBrush. I have a copy of ZBrush on my computer, but it seems like the learning curve is a little bit rough, and I'm not too big into, or I haven't learned much about computer drawing or computer CAD or even SolidWorks or ZBrush is just a more artistic version of that. So I'm definitely interested in what you present out there. If you could get a project done and cast it. Going back to my little arm here piece. So I have my positive, my negative, and connect it up, and you can see that I have this, my 2 lights in here. So I'm gonna darken this up a little bit so that the lights aren't too bright in these 2 spots, so that hopefully once I'm said and done with this piece, it'll look like just chopped off metal, chopped off glowing metal. So you have this Zaku here, and this piece is lying on the ground like so, and glowing. So that's the effect I'm trying to go with there. Famous last words. And here's sanding going on in the background. Let's go back to George to see how he's sanding.
Well, you see, I'm using this stuff called sandpaper, and I'm rubbing it over the surface. And
Hey, where'd you get that sandpaper at?
I had to special order it from Clem. Everyone else who produces sandpaper has to pay royalties to Clem. It's a difficult situation.
Is that Clem sanding you're doing?
It's Clem sanding. Uh-oh.
Everybody else producing that paper has to do road plan. It's a difficult situation. Echo.
That's the feed.
Oh, sorry, that's me. My bad.
That's the feed coming through.
No, it was me. I accidentally hit the button.
That's what I said.
Okay, since Mike's gone blank, or no, actually, he's cleaned up his workspace. Why, Mike? Why?
I took the Valkyrie back off. I had so I could bring this back over. I didn't clean anything. I just had to take it apart so I could paint this again.
One question I have, Mike, is where do you have all the room to display all this stuff now?
This one, I don't know where it's going to go. Everything else has been fairly small. This is pretty big, so.
I could recommend Robot for less.
Yeah, I hear they do well. I hear they do well with sunlight and earthquakes.
And children in their
Yeah, bumping into the display case and stuff. You know, things big. Just your blood, sweat, and tears falling from the roof down to the floor. That's all. But I'm not bitter. Maybe.
Keep your diorama in there. Like, I dare you to try and drop this.
Oh.
So we had a question. Any new info about this year's SCGMC?
Well, other than it's build fighters is the theme.
George, shut up, George.
What's George rambling about?
Just boring old crap.
Kick ban that guy.
Yeah. Still build fighters. We're working on a tournament-style system. So one of these broadcasts, hopefully one of these broadcasts we're going to do during one of our build gatherings, and kind of vet out the process. It's gonna be an interesting thing that we do. We try to keep things interesting every year with something new, and just end up screwing ourselves royally.
And so we'll try to make it intentionally interesting this time.
But but God damn it, we are interesting. Damn it.
What do you mean?
But the idea is we want to kind of push that envelope of not just being a model contest. Maybe try some new things that we can afford to experiment with, because we're fairly young model group, so to speak. So the idea this year is we're going to do a build fighters thing, and then we're going to set up like a grid. So if you imagine, let me go over to my display. Now, if you would imagine some kind of a grid pattern, I'm going to take this away.
Like a bracket?
So yeah, we'd have a bracket. So imagine, we put one kit that's done up, and then we would have a kind of a seeding system. So as people enter their kits, they get a number in, and by the time we have a cutoff time for when the kits get entered, and we throw it into a seeding program, and kits are thrown against one another. So it becomes kind of a tournament-based thing where we're using model rules, not necessarily, how flashy a kit is, although that could, kind of go into the play, but how well a kit is built, and just use that general, model building, our contest ethics for, and decide winners, and each winner battles against one another, and we bracket up and then to final two and determine a winner there. So it may not be the best kit entered wins, but it's kind of a tournament style. It depends on who you fight, I guess. Again, we're still working out the kinks and planning this out, because it's a new idea, and we want to bring in that build fighters theme to this, and use that as much as possible, if that makes sense.
When we see the bracket, is it going to be regular seed or seed destiny?
Oh, you know what? I could drive over to Dan's house and slap him.
Gunpla is freedom, so it could be
I would
either
deserve
one.
it. I would totally deserve it, but it was worth it.
No, but I mean, I like the idea. I think it's kind of cool and it's something new for us to try, and hopefully, it'll get more people interested in our theme. Every year we run the theme, and a lot of people are shy away from the theme. We try the diorama theme just to get people moving on a diorama, but I think that overwhelms some people. So this year is just a standalone kit. You need to modify it somehow to fit that Build Fighters theme, but it's open to any freaking kit you think of that would fit in that world of Build Fighters. So we also, when we throw out these theme ideas, we try to make the rules as open to interpretation as possible, so that people can be as creative. I know a lot of people have issues when we keep it open like that, and they need direction. But that's also one of those things that shoots creativity in the foot, is to put too many rules down, so that it limits your creativity. So hopefully some people will start thinking outside of the box and create something really cool for this tournament we have planned. With that, let's turn this back over to Dan. That's not
Right. Like, up here, look, I'll go away. Okay, so having masked the bottom of this, I'm just now going to take a mixture of, I'm putting a little blob of Tamiya putty in here, and some Mr. 500, Mr. Surfer 500. I'm kind of mixing it to whatever consistency I want, and just kind of basically brushing it into that little gap between the tape, which you totally can't see. What sucks is to have enough light for things generally to look good. Any detail you want to show just gets completely washed out. I don't know the solution to that, but trust me, there's a little fine gap that's about that thick between these two pieces of tape here, where I can put in a layer of putty.
I believe you, Dan. I believe you.
I don't.
Thank God somebody believes me. Let's call it friggin' X-Files. No, really,
No one actually watched that?
I didn't, but I don't watch much of anything, so that's not to say anything about the quality of the show.
I watched the Super Bowl.
No, I didn't watch that either.
Yeah, you were at Disneyland, weren't you?
Yeah, I thought it wouldn't be crowded. That was stupid. Or at least, I hoped if it was crowded, it'd be crowded with, desperate single moms.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, I went with my wife. It's not very well.
I don't know if your wife's into that type of thing.
I didn't either, but you can always try.
Doesn't hurt to try.
You probably guess she's not here right now.
Or within audible, distance.
Yeah, she's at the store.
Nice. This is only being recorded. We could play this back for her.
Oh yeah, she's really gonna stop and watch it.
Some of our wives watch this.
Yeah, you can be like, hey, look, honey, sanding. People sanding.
Well, it's more about what we banter about than I think people care about watching us actually build. Oh,
I tried to pay attention, and you shut me down, so.
Whoops.
I'm gonna encourage the banter.
No, I think people watch this for our winning personalities.
You think people watch this?
No, not at all. We actually have 14 viewers.
Oh, right.
All ourselves that are watching ourselves, so we have 10 viewers.
All right.
But
Double digits, man. We have achieved one order of magnitude.
we're getting close to doing this for one full year, and I'm not. We go to reevaluate the value of these broadcasts. I mean, every so often we'll get big group of people joining in every so often, and we get a smaller group. We used to have like a couple of East Coasters that would join in, but it swings where not everyone is in the mood to build. Sometimes people are sick. Sometimes people have shitty internet connections and can't join. So, but I mean, it's one of those things that I'm at home building. Why not broadcast this? But then, along the lines to that, we kind of have to talk while we're building through this, and that kind of detracts from trying to concentrate on working on stuff. So
I know it's
focused on mixing his paint. He goes, "Dad, say something."
this broadcast is.
Check it out.
Dan has his old man glasses on too, which is awesome.
I'm seriously going to go to the optometrist and get like some reading glasses. I can't see crap anymore, less than like about 14 inches away. So you can't enjoy your near-range vision while you have it. It's gonna
Your turn's coming. Got mine right here.
Yeah, because these optovisors are okay, but they're kind of clunky. I don't want to wear them all the time. Like I used to have to wear them for like fine detail. Now I have to wear them just to look at the damn thing. So I like to get some more like reading glasses. So it has a big fucking thing on my head.
I found that too. It seemed like the more and more I used them, the more and more I needed them.
Yeah, I worry about that myself. Like I'm straining, or maybe I'm just freaking getting older. It's just getting worse. I don't know.
Almost like your eyes know. Oh, you can see better if you just put those magnifiers.
See, kids, getting old sucks.
Yeah. My parents are like, "Oh, just wait, it gets worse." I'm like, "Oh, thanks."
Welcome to the geriatric guys.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to talk about...
What?
G is no longer for Gundam. G is
What?
for Jericho. For the Jericho guys.
What?
What? Speak up! I'm a writer.
God damn it.
I don't know how these online things work. Is my broadcast on?
George, you 40?
Hello?
George, are you 40 yet?
No. Next
God damn
year.
it.
Don't worry, I'm almost there.
Freaking youngster.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on this chat, with the exception of George, is 40. Over
I had
40.
no idea.
That's sad, isn't it?
Punk ass kid.
I like that we're making the guys on chat laugh. No, yeah, you guys are watching.
I'm old. Those old Gundam guys.
Gonna be the TOGG now.
Hey, remind me near the end to take my blue pill. It's time to take effect.
Hey,
You know?
So
I don't know what you mean. What do you
Oh,
mean?
I have to take all the pills in the Tuesday box. I remember that because today is Tuesday.
Don't tell George. It's Thursday.
I'll be right back, gentlemen. 1 second.
Speaking of blue pill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the red
I
pill.
almost forgot. Thanks for reminding.
It's the second Tuesday. I've got a job to do tonight.
Did I mention how much I hate these damn tracks?
What tracks?
The tracks for this
Oh,
this gun tank?
are they like Lincoln length or are they like...
No! It's one solid. Well, actually, it's two solid tracks on
What the hell?
that connect together like so. And there's details on the inside piece where they connect, which boggles my mind. We had this discussion earlier. I'm still kind of annoyed at these tracks. They suck.
Oh, what's so bad about them?
Shut up, George.
Now, how bad is that joint between the two? How bad does it look?
What joint between the two?
On the outside of the tracks? As you push them together.
What, like this?
Yeah, I mean, do you need to fix that, or does it look natural?
It kind of looks natural.
Yeah, I guess you just weather them. It'll look all right. Just
No,
weather
but
it.
I want to cut the tracks up so that I could, kind of use them, as a damaged track. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe you can get one of the original gun tank kits.
Those tracks are individually linked.
No, but I think it was like sections, so you might be able to at least pull off some sections and work with those. At least if you just want some
Uh,
scattered around.
you're talking about the old kit or the older high grade, or I mean, those are
The
all
high
rubber
grade.
tracks, I think.
Those are rubber tracks.
They are? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Well, the high grades are rubber tracks. The master grade, I think, are separate links.
Oh, there's
Hmm.
more.
But the master grades can be a lot bigger. The tracks on the master grade can be a lot bigger than this, right?
That is true, probably. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, Alrighty.
You know what I can do? I could pull the damn freaking kit out and take a look.
There you go. Now you're talking. Now you're using the old noggin.
You know
I
what?
don't.
Holy shit, the tracks are actually almost the same. Width-wise. Check that out.
Interesting.
Huh.
They're individual pieces, right?
Yeah.
That's a master grade?
Yeah.
Oh, and you gotta destroy your master grade to build that stupid high grade.
Well, before you do that, I mean, maybe you should see if there's something aftermarket that could work. I mean, there's like those Tamiya battery powered tank chassis things with individual plastic links. Those are pretty cheap. If the tracks are the right size, maybe you could pick one of those up.
Buy some $35 metal frill models tracks.
I'm kind of wondering if this thing links up together. If the tracks just link up together. Let's look at the instructions, see how these work.
What, on the master grade?
Yeah.
Don't do
Yeah,
it.
they just kind of snap together.
Ooh, hey, you know what? This might actually work. I'm not gonna sacrifice it. I'm just gonna make a resin cast.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Just cast the whole runner.
Yeah, I'm just gonna cast the whole freaking runner.
Yeah, then just cut them off. Clip them off. Perfect
Yeah.
idea.
Of course, if you did sacrifice those tracks, you could always put the gun tank torso on a Gundam. That's fun.
No, George, we're not listening to George anymore. That George.
Hey.
That George.
There
Yeah.
you go again with that Gunpla Freedom nonsense.
Yeah, George.
Well, they're
That's
coming
cool.
out with a new freedom.
It's good that I have a gun tank kit. I've never got.
Hey, George, I got some of these DuPont connectors we were talking about.
Oh, neat.
Let's go over to Mike while he shows George his connectors.
And you just, I mean, is this how, I don't know how you got yours. They came on these little, you just clip off what you need. But
Yeah.
basically, they're little single pin wire connectors, so if you're trying to do some fine wiring work, you can use these. These are a bit longer than I think I need. I mean, they'll work, but I've also got some of those IC connectors coming, so I'm going to look at those too and see which one works best. Yeah, these are kind of cool. I'm sure I'll use them.
Did you get the plastic housings too?
No, it just came bare like this.
Huh.
Because I mean, I probably wouldn't use the housings anyway, because of the way, especially for this kit, because of the way I've got to wire it. They're not going to be right next to each other anyway.
Hmm.
They're like a 2-pin, something like this. Is this what you're talking about?
Let me see again.
Like a little 2-pin.
Yeah, more or less. The ones that I've got are kind of like the fan connectors and stuff inside of a PC.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this is. I bet you if I cut this open, it would be the same, or pretty close to the same. You got your male pin, your female pin there, and it goes together. I'm actually going to use this on this diorama, because once I get the wiring done in the arm, I'm going to bring it down here and have a connection at the battery down here at the bottom. So what I can do is disassemble the arm, take the arm off as well, and it'll be a little bit easier to transport that way rather than having this big bulk, picking up. That's not exactly very stout. I mean, it's pretty strong. It's all plastic. I don't know. Hey, Clem, do you think you could still cut this up and resin cast it, or cast it as one piece? Would that even work?
No, I have to cut it up.
Yeah. God, it's a lot of work, man. I don't want to cut it up.
Yeah, but imagine how many people you'll make happy.
But all 4 Macross fans out there?
Well, Dan still counts as one.
Yeah, that's one.
No, there's plenty of Macross fans, just not so many people build the models, I think.
They'll
Go on
spend
Macross
time
World
on
and it's all people collecting the
Control
toys.
Bandai.
Or building big kits like this, Here's something I already did, too. I made this little wire here. This is just a piece of stereo wire that I put some shrink tubing on. Because in the design, there's a little cable that goes from here to here. It's also going to be my actual power cable is running down the length of this and then coming into this junction here, down here somewhere. So, but yeah. So, trying to do a little bits and pieces. I go back and forth between the base and the arm here. I'm gonna, once I get those IC connectors, I'm gonna probably finish wiring that. I gotta figure out where the wires are gonna go in here anyway. And plus, I want to finish the whole battery and have that part done. That way, I don't have to deal with it anymore. I can sit here and wait until I'm finished with the base. But as it is, right now, all the wiring is just in this booster. If I pull this off, you can see where everything's at inside. Originally, I was going to put a little battery pack in here, but just not enough room for it. So, but it was worth a shot, At least all my wires come up to this point anyway, so it makes it easier for me in the end, I guess, because I seriesed everything down, or paralleled, I should say, everything down to one circuit over here rather than having a bunch of different.
Holy crap, this might actually work.
Huh?
No, hold on. Let me go back to my. I'm working on my Lego box. Casting the tracks.
Oh.
So I cut up a section. I cut up a section of the tracks because they're all identical, and I do not need to cast the entire sheet, so I can just cast a section and just make multiple copies as I need. How cool is that?
Sounds like a plan.
I know, and I'll have real tracks. This is actually getting kind of exciting. But then the tracks. But my problem will be the tracks are going to be a lot thicker than they are on the. I wonder how big of a difference they'll make.
Maybe it'll just make it look that much more intimidating. Easy.
Sure.
I don't know. Just throwing it out there. I'm trying to encourage you to keep going. Do it, man.
See, this is where things go wrong. People should be discouraged when they're doing something wrong.
That's what you tell me. Just do it.
No, because I want to watch you fail. That's why I'm telling you to
do it. I see. Truth comes out. All these years.
What do you mean all these years? I've been pretty blatantly honest about that.
What, about wanting me to fail? I don't think you've ever said it.
I don't want everyone to fail.
You've never said it to my face.
He said it behind your back a lot.
Technically, I'm still not saying that to your face.
Yeah, you're right. That is true.
So for those that have never seen resin casting before. This is the mold making process, which starts, well, for me, it starts with Play-Doh. To make this process go better, we have to create a little jig.
Time for the Vaseline yet?
No, not yet, Dan. Don't get too excited.
Oh, yeah, let me know when.
Wow.
That went south real quick.
Good. He said south.
As opposed to north?
Holy cow. That's how you flatten it.
Huh?
I'm watching
No.
you flatten it by smashing Lego pieces into it.
Yeah. And it sort of makes it fairly even.
Yeah. I'm like using my finger trying to like get it all smooth best I can.
Yeah, but that never works out very well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still kind of center heavy a little bit, so
But at least your gelatin mold doesn't go down into all the little grooves, right? That's the whole purpose behind that.
well, the whole purpose is to kind of get this like a nice flat surface so that I could set this on top of here, and kind of make it so that I can make an easier two-part mold. So the thing I'm going to do is make a two-part mold using this. So once this is kind of flat, I can set this on top of here and lightly press this in so I have it sitting. One of the reasons I do this also is to keep, if it's like keep the part from floating up too much. So I could kind of set this in here, like so. Usually creates a decent seal. So it doesn't, well, we're going to have it's still not flat enough. So I'm going to lift this up. And try this again.
that. No? You guys still got me up?
What?
I'll still have you up?
Okay, well, no, my computer was saying I had a connection error, and I was trying to make sure I was still in. It sounded like I was.
You're still in. I can hear
Okay.
you breathing.
Oh, that's fine. I was just checking. Thought it was. I mean, everything was on the screen. It just said, for some reason, it said connection error. Asking me to check my internet connection. I'm like,
Sounds like a personal problem.
yeah, you know. Like you do.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use something new that I bought and I haven't used it yet.
Hold up. Let me switch over to you because watching me do this is kind of boring.
I mean, this is just like I was talking about dressing up, you know. Because right now it's just pretty much plain plastic that I built here. I want to put some more technical looking things on it to make it look like a actual piece of machinery, I guess. Anyway, but I have these. They're vents. They're flat photo etch. If I can get kind of hard to get a focus on.
Someone echoing or is it that's? You didn't. Like.
There's different sizes, and you can see how they're kind of louvered. They're flat photo etch vents, but what you do is you basically just peel one off, and then each louver of the vent is connected by a little tiny attachment point, so you can actually bend them up and make it look like a louvered vent. A nice little detail. I mean, it's made for Gundam stuff too, but I'm going to try a couple on this launch arm to look like some kind of a exhaust vent or something. I haven't used them yet, and I've been looking for a reason to use them on, and I think I found one. So yeah, it should be kind of cool. I went through all my stash of old Gundam parts, and I found a couple of things that I'm going to use on it. Just some other stuff, but I think I'm going to use one of those vents, one or two of them, too, just as an added little detail.
And that's actually a good topic to discuss, Mike, is sometimes when we want to add detailed parts, you know, we go through, we don't necessarily build something out of scratch, but we look at something that we have already, like a spare parts bin,
Yeah.
and cut up maybe, you know, most kits come with like a ton of guns, and, you know, you cut up the gun, you could turn, you know, you use some of that detail to create like a spring or create, you know, slap on details to a kit. Right, Mike?
Yeah, I did a conversion on my first Sazabi build. It was the old 1.0 Sazabi, not the Burkhan. I did a resin conversion, so a lot of the external armor and stuff was used. And there's like these little vents in there. I cut the part off on the back that, you know, lines it up on whatever part it was supposed to attach to. So, and there's just little bits and pieces that you find, like you're talking about. This is part of the EXS shoulders. I might actually attach these somehow on here, give it a little bit of extra detail. But yeah, certainly save all those parts. You know, don't toss them away. And there's something you mentioned that I didn't even think of, because I got a lot of guns laying around that I just kind of snapped together and threw up on a shelf and didn't think about, you know. But yeah, might be able to use the tubes from it. Like here, I pulled out some of this stuff, which we were talking about. These are all extra parts from the EXS, you know. And I got like these little tubes here. I think these were the fuel tanks. Actually, not the fuel tanks. They were the beam cannons on the shoulders, but they're just nice little parts. They're already molded. I can either choose to glue them together or lay them flat on a flat surface and have it look like a pipe or something like that. Just an idea. Yeah, that's a good point. You have a lot of spare parts usually laying around, so go through your bin and you'll always find something that you can use. I'm just trying to figure out how to dress this up a little bit. I've already put a couple little vents on the top here. I bought this, I think I put it over here. did with it. That's what I did with it, guys. Moved it, but I don't know what I did with it. Damn it. Let's see, I got another one here. Yeah, so basically I went and bought this a little while back. Little gun put parts, building parts kit, and this is just a bunch of panels and vents and stuff, or yeah, different hatches or stuff like that. There's a better picture on the back. You can kind of see what it is. Yeah, there's just little things like that. You know? You can dress them up. Here. Where are we?
Mike, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take the presenting.
Go for it.
See here. So
George,
I know I've done this in previous shows, so nothing hurts more than it never hurts to repeat a step. So I have my things. I have my first half of my mold set up. So I have the Play-Doh. I have my parts sitting in there in my Lego box. Now I have my silicone that I'm going to use, and this is measured out by weight. So I have my cup in here, and I might actually have to do 2 pours of this stuff. So this is mixed up in a ratio of 9 parts of this to 1 part of the activator.
Do you keep buying a lot of that stuff, or do you just keep it around and don't worry about the 6-month shelf life?
I don't really worry too much about the shelf life. I usually seal it up pretty nicely, but I cast a fair amount, so I go through this stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Another trick I'll show you once I get done with this is, like, you can use old silicone as a filler. So I will do that in a bit. Well, actually, I'll do that right now. I'll take out a box of old silicone I have here. So this is just old silicone pieces that are no longer in use. So just grab some chunks here and use this as a filler. Silicone is very nice. It sticks very well to itself. Grab some chunks, and that should be good enough for my filler. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix the activator into this. So I have 82 grams of this of the silicone base. Shake this nicely, and I want to add about 8 grams of this stuff. 9 maybe, so I want to go crazy. So this will get up to about 90, 91 maybe. It's hard to measure out that 0.2 gram.
Yeah, you'll never pour that accurately anyway.
Nope. And it doesn't need to be ultrally accurate. It just needs to be close enough. So this is between 90 and 91. So I'm pretty much at my capacity here for my cup. So I'm going to go ahead and just mix. Now you need to make sure that this mixes well. And I'm going to try not to spill it everywhere. As this mixes, it gets to a lighter shade of green. depending on your activator, this will be blue, this will be pink. As you can see, the different pieces of silicone I have here, I have bits of pink, bits of blue. So you can see that this has bits and pieces of filler inside of it, and you see the color variances. The chat has been awful quiet. There's still people watching. You guys have questions about anything?
There's about 5 minutes left, just so you know.
Oh, crap. Well, we have 5 minutes left in the broadcast. Granted, we did start kind of late today because we ran into a snafu with the start, so you could go a little long if you guys are interested, or if anyone's working on anything overly interesting that you want to continue broadcasting with. But George, want to see if anyone on chat has any questions?
No.
No questions, or you don't want to check?
No, or you don't want to, or no questions?
George, I'd believe either of those from you.
What's that?
I would believe either of those from you.
No, I'm taking a look. I don't know how much we're lagging. Somebody said something about Hardgraph Core Fighter. I don't know if that's exactly a question, but
Was it anyone built one? I think Dan's worked on one of those.
Yeah.
He won an award for it too.
I got second place in not SCJ. I got first place in SCGMC. I got second place in GBWC a couple years back with one. It's in North America.
yeah, you didn't have enough arms on it.
No. Could use some more guns too.
Yeah.
Not enough LEDs either. I mean, the LED you had in there was really nice.
I didn't even turn it on.
You didn't?
No.
Yeah, I didn't turn mine on either. Or more so, it ran out of batteries.
And got crushed.
Yeah, well, that was another kit.
Oh. But I mean, if people are wondering, is it a good kit? Yeah, it's a great kit.
I think I
Very
have
nice.
one.
But be
Very
warned,
nice.
it is a core fighter.
What?
But be warned, it is a core fighter. It's kind of the downside of that kit.
You say so. Actually, the biggest warning I'll give to that is cause I was originally going to do a diorama with other hardgraph kits. The figures from the other hardgraph kits, they're not the same scale. That core fighter is really like 132 scale, and the figures in the tanks and whatever are like 135th scale. And they're also like the core fighter figures are much more of an anime look. They've got those more childlike proportions and big heads and huge eyes and stuff. And with the hardgraph, like the hover tank or hover truck and the tank, the figures are like beyond realistic into like almost like so ugly they're almost deformed looking with small heads. And so you put the two figures from the two different kits next to each other, thinking you might put them in the same diorama. It's like, no, these things cannot go together at all. They're just a million miles away from each other. That sucks.
Well, I used enough resin that I don't need a filler, so right now I'm just going to stick this in the pot, and this will cure up for a day. And I'll get back to this and do the second part tomorrow.
Why don't you like core fighters, George?
Looks like a big folding Lego brick. Doesn't look like an airplane.
Have you
You know,
seen
that's-
mine?
Unless it's like the GPO 1 core fighter, that one's not bad.
Yeah, I agree. It's a nice one. Yeah, I heard you
No,
worked
it's
pretty
just-
hard to make it look realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like one of those aspects of the original show that I kind of prefer to ignore. Kind of like the G armor.
Giorgio was awesome.
Well, I never liked it.
Because an airplane with tank cannons and tank treads makes tons of sense.
I know, right?
So a guy asked if I degas my silicone. Sometimes I do, but since there are really no undercuts for this, I'm not too concerned about that. The pressure pot will take care of that on its own.
You have a vacuum chamber?
No, I have a pressure pot. It's different.
Oh, well then, how do you degas your silicone without a vacuum chamber?
It's not necessarily degassing, it's pushing the bubbles really, really small.
Well, yeah.
Thanks, semantics, George.
Well, no, I mean,
He's just curious.
you know, you say you degas your silicone. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty exciting. You got a vacuum chamber. Those things are pretty expensive, but
No, I don't degas. I push the bubbles into tiny little pieces.
yeah, you pressure cast.
Yeah, pressure
That's
cast.
what I do.
Tiny bubbles.
Under pressure.
Started it.
With that said, it's past 9 o'clock. Our broadcast is ending. So we'll see you guys back in another 2 weeks, and hope you guys enjoyed this broadcast. Talk to you guys later.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.